everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Unspoken podcast. I am your host, Anna Morgan Pilardi. I am the Program and Communications Director for the Chris Klug Foundation, which was founded in 2003 by Olympic bronze medalist and liver recipient Chris Klug. The Unspoken podcast is going to be all about organ and tissue donation and transplantation. We'll be discussing topics that don't get enough attention, so we'll be bringing in individuals to share their experiences, to share their stories, as well as those experts in the field to discuss various different topics. We would love to get some input from you, so please head to our website, chrisklugfoundation.org, to suggest a topic, or if you're interested in coming on the podcast. We will be releasing them every other week, so you get 2 a month discussing all kinds of topics. This first one, I'm going to be joined by our executive director. Can't wait to have her on to sort of share where the foundation is, what we anticipate coming up, and just so you can get to know us a little better. So I'm super excited to have everybody and to be starting this podcast with you all. And thank you for all tuning in to our first episode. I'm definitely aiming to get better at this as time goes on. So bear with me. And yeah, let's dive into it. So I would like to officially welcome our first guest to the Unspoken podcast, Miss Jessie Rochelle. Jessie is our executive director at the Chris Klug Foundation. And I'm super excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, Anna, for letting me be your first guest of our new podcast.
Right? It's our little podcast. Okay, so I wanted to start with a fun icebreaker. If you could time travel, where is the first place you would go to?
I was even the one that said you should have a fun icebreaker. Oh, boy. That is a great question. Now, I'm going to be kind of boring. I'm not going to go that far. I want to revisit the 80s. I'm an 80s baby, and there were some really great things in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't say 80s would be my jam, but I don't know if that's just me. I feel like I would go to like the 1920s, like way back. I say way back. It's probably not that far back. But for me, it's a way back. I just think it's so classy and like elegant, I guess.
Like the good roaring 20s.
Mm-hmm. Or I would go like way back to like medieval princesses and princes and like a whole life of fantasy, you know.
Okay. See, I really enjoy like reading about other times, but then I get too in my head about all the things that I don't want to deal with. Like, ooh, what were showers like in medieval times? So what was bathing like? And the 1920s, I really appreciate being able to vote.
Yeah.
There's some things, voting being able to sign up for a credit card. There's some things as a woman that I can't go too far back and still retain.
No, that's totally fair. I mean, I wouldn't want to live back there. I just want to go see what it's like and then jump in.
Just pop in and out.
Yeah.
And I just want to go back to like neon colors and like fun cartoons like My Little Ponies and Pound Puppies that I grew up with. Really, I just want to regress to childhood when there was less responsibility.
Yeah, I'm okay. That I'm down for. Like, I would go back, but I guess mine would be like the 90s, 2000s. I mean, I could go back to Christina Aguilera and like the whole pop era, I guess.
Yeah.
When it became a thing.
Okay, like it.
Okay. Well, let's jump into some questions. So first off, just wanted to give everyone the background about each of us and the foundation. So that's kind of what today's webinar is all about. So what inspired you to webinar? No, that's what today's podcast is all about. We changed it. It's now a podcast. What has inspired you to join CKF?
That was a great question. I kind of assumed that was going to be one of the first ones. I mean, aside from the fact that you told me what you'd be asking me, but as I was thinking about this morning, I knew it'd be one of the first things I had to answer. So I was prepping for it. I grew up in Carbondale, just down valley from Aspen, where the foundation is located. And when I came back from school, I got involved with municipal government, with Parks and Recreation, and worked in that field for 14 years, including managing the local rec center. It was great, but I was thinking that maybe I should try something else. And nothing had really spoken to me until I saw a posting that the Chris Klug Foundation was hiring. And I was familiar with the foundation from Summit for Life. I had been doing it at that point for maybe like 6 or 8 years. I had some friends that did it and I joined them, and Got to see what that was all about, learn about Chris and his story. And then in 2015, my dad was put on the transplant wait list for a new heart. And he was transplanted that year. He's over 9 years out from that and doing very well. He's in his 70s and retired, yet has like started this thriving side hustle moving business in his retirement community because the man doesn't know how not to work and do things.
Love it.
So obviously the heart is working out very well for him. But between that and just being passionate about organ donation, I mean, I remember knowing from the time I got my license that I was going to say, yes, I wanted to be an organ donor. And I've tried to think back and remember like what that discussion looked like, because I know we talked about it as a family, but I don't remember the specifics other than I always knew that I would sign up. And as soon as I got my license, I checked the box, yes. And so when the position became available, it's like, that speaks to me, that I could get behind. I can feel passionate about that. And so I applied and got the job, and here we are a little over 2 years later, and it's been a really exciting, challenging ride, but it's been really, really special to watch the organization grow and the people we've been able to meet and the stories we get to be a part of and learn about. It's really incredible work. I am very passionate about blood donation. You know, this all the time. I'm A positive, and so they really like platelets from me, and not everybody likes blood donation because of the needle and the blood and those things. Those don't phase me. And for platelets, you have to sit there attached to the machine with a needle in your arm for an hour or more. And I'm grateful that I don't have a phobia of needles or blood in that way, and I can go and give this gift back. So I feel strongly about it. It was a really great switch. I miss my friends at the rec center, but I still go by and see them. I had them keep me on in the capacity of senior trip leader because I really like my older adults. And that was something that I was also able to bring to the foundation when I came, was really including them as a group that we also reach out to, because the oldest organ donor just happened last year. And this gentleman was 98 and donated his liver. So youth is a huge focus for us. I think it's really important that we don't discount adults and older adults too. And it's been really fun to bring that in and make this a really intergenerational station.
Yeah. And like you said, so many, like you guys spoke about it as a family, but there's so many families that do not talk about it and do not bring enough attention to it. And so making sure that everyone of every age is educated is so important, because the conversation may not be, parents to child. It might be child to grandparent or grandparent to, child. It could be either way.
Absolutely. It's so important. And we see more and more these days, like the nuclear family isn't just parents and kids like it used to be. Grandparents quite often are living in the same household and or raising the kids.
Yeah.
And so having those conversations, and we've seen at places we've gone where we're talking with kids and the parents are there and they turn to their kids and they're like, oh yeah, we've never talked about this, but I'm a registered organ donor. Yeah. And it opens up that conversation, and it's really kind of magic to see that.
Definitely.
That spark,
when you see it like
when they realize that it's something they should be talking about.
Yeah. Or like a kid turning to a parent being like, I want to be that. And the parents kind of like, oh God, for the first few seconds. And then they're like, okay, no, I raised a kid that wants to help others. And that's really what organ donation is all about. Okay, but I do want to point out that when Jessie says that she likes to donate blood, like she loves to donate blood. Searches wherever we go on work trips, like she will donate blood every single time we go. I actually don't think trip that you haven't.
Yeah, I make Anna work trips around either getting there early or staying late so that I can donate platelets.
I love it.
And to specify, we have to do this because our closest blood donation center is 90 miles away from us. So the other reason I like to do it when I can is because, it's not only is it difficult for some people to do it because of the blood and the needle thing, but logistically it takes time, and it's not always easy to do because they're not in everybody's backyard.
And if you're like me, who's a little skeptical of it, or not skeptical, I guess I'm wrong in saying that.
Squeamish.
Nervous of it because I had a bad experience with needles. Jessie just drags me along and I get right into it and it's fine. Everything's fine.
I am happy to hold anybody's hand while donating blood.
I love it. Okay, but you did touch on Summit for Life. So for those who have not heard of Summit for Life, what is it?
So Summit for Life is our flagship event. It is a nighttime uphill race on Aspen Mountain. It is beautiful and magical, but not for the faint of heart because it is a very difficult climb over 3,000 feet uphill from the base of Aspen Mountain to the sun deck in the dark, quite often in the extreme cold.
Yeah.
But that being said, we've had kids, we've had seniors, we've had transplant recipients do it. The average person takes maybe like hour and a half to 2 hours. The fastest people do it are doing it in 40 minutes. And final finishers are like 3 to 3.5 hours. So it's a wide range of people. It is possible for anybody, just might take some longer than others. But we have 2 aid stations on there. And then if you really don't want to do the climbing, you can ride the gondola and just watch everybody else suffering and having a great time below you.
Which is my favorite part.
Yes. Just watching all those lights into the distance.
Yeah.
And it's both a fundraising and an awareness opportunity for us. As a result of this fundraising aspect, they're also helping us spread the word about organ, eye, and tissue donation and how important it is. We do an award at the top called the Michael Wells Inspirational Award for our good friend Michael Wells. And it's for somebody generally local in the donation or transplant community that is just, inspiring others and doing good work to help spread this message.
It's always gone to somebody incredible and so well deserving. This year was Susie Budsey with Team Joyful, who has been an incredible supporter of the foundation, has raced Summit just about every year, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year, but it was incredible to see her whole crew turn out. And like everyone was Team Joyful. Like the whole mountain was filled with Team Joyful. And it was such a magical night. And so that's really where Summit started from, was Chris's want to show everybody that it's possible to do the impossible. And it's possible to climb a mountain. It may take you a while, but you can get to the top and have a great time doing it surrounded with your community. And people that support you.
Last year we had 3 liver recipients doing it.
Yeah, which was really special to see. And people of very different, Chris is at, I'm trying to remember how many years he is now. He will be 2000, so he'll be 25 years this year. Ian, who I think is around 8.
I'll be going on 8.
And Kat, who's around 2 or 3 years. And so very different, levels of recovery, I guess, or post-transplant.
And all completed this incredible feat, and all completed it with smiles on their faces too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. On to our next topic. The mission of CKF. We currently just redid our strategic plan. And when we were sitting there, when we really started breaking down the mission, we decided that we didn't want to change it that much and that it really still resonated with us. Can you sort of explain what our mission is and why you think it's so critical to the world?
Yes, absolutely. So our mission is really twofold. We have the education and inspiration side. Well, we have the inspiration side really on both, but we educate people about organ, eye, and tissue donation, and then inspire them and recipients. But the goal is to try to register people and then support recipients. So we want to increase donation registration and be there for people on the transplant side, and then everyone in between, caregivers, family, friend, anybody who's involved in it. We are there for all of it. We serve we exist in kind of this really special niche spot where we want to serve everybody. We don't want to just register people and then be done with them.
Yep.
And then we don't want to just support those going through transplant, because you can't do that without also educating people on the other side. And it's all just, tied together and wrapped up within each other. And you can't have one without the other. And we're fortunate that we get to do the work on both sides instead of just having to have one very specific focus.
Yeah.
And like Anna said, we just updated the mission slightly. And so rather than potentially mess it up, I'm going to read it exactly. So CKF's current mission, with a small update, is educate individuals to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors and inspire those in the transplant community to live their best lives. And it's really that portion about inspiring them to live their best lives that is the newest addition to it. We don't want to just inspire them, but we, like with Summit, want to show them what is possible post-transplant. And Summit's not for everybody. You know, somebody post-transplant, Summit might not be them living their best lives, but maybe it's, you know, completing a book they were working on writing, or doing their first walking 5K, or, you know, taking dance lessons, or being able to watch their children or grandchildren grow up. Like it's different for everybody. It will not be the same. It will not look the same, but just showing them that transplant is not the end, but the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what Chris has always said since he started the foundation, is that he thought it was a death sentence, and it turned out to be such a great thing that changed his life and, you know, helped him go to the Olympics, helped him have 2 kids, and everything he's done since is starting the foundation. And there's so many great stories of people doing, you know, maybe not going to the Olympics, but, you know, their own achievement, whatever that looks like. And that's really what's at the core of CKF. That's what made both of us fall in love with the foundation and the work that we do, and so many other people that resonate with it. And like you said, we get to work with everybody in all spheres of transplant and donation, which is super fun.
Yeah, it's a really special place where we get to not just work with individuals too, but work with all these amazing organizations that are out there. Like, our biggest goal is to collaborate as far wide as we can. We operate nationally, and there's so many organizations doing really incredible work out there that we can help support, or they can support us. We can work together on doing different initiatives, campaigns, programs, events, because we're all out there trying to spread the same message. We're not in competition with each other. And the more we amplify each other's voices, the better we all do.
Yeah. Well, and we know we're a 2-man team. As much as we'd love to change the world completely, it's never going to happen, the 2 of us. And it's every voice that's out there, you know, and amplifying those, and those that are doing incredible work that, you know, we don't need to recreate. It's already there. So let's amplify those organizations doing it.
Exactly.
That's kind of our goal, I guess. Okay. So on to the next. No, I don't want to say that word again. No. What is another word? Okay. Coming up next for CKF. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to edit that out. Coming up in the world of CKF. So we are always doing 10 million different things. What are you most excited for in the next year, you know, that we've got coming out?
You're going to make me pick just one thing?
Well, you don't have to. You can pick a few. I mean, you could pick like one program.
Can I pick all the things?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Excited about all of it. I mean, each year I'm excited for what we have on the schedule, because each year Anna does a really great job of doing these chalkboard calendars in our office. And so it's really exciting to look at all the things we've done in the past year. And then as we look to the next one, watching that calendar fill up with different programs, conferences, trips to different races that we're charity partners with, all of this. It's very exciting to watch it fill up and know that those are all things that are going to help spread our message and support people out there. And so it's hard.
I do want to say, when you say fill up, it fills up like immediate, like I'm immediately filling the calendar, and then we just keep adding somehow.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm equally excited for the big things as I am for the little. Like, we get to go to New York each year to support 10 runners running in the New York City Marathon. And for some people, it's their first marathon. And so watching them achieve that is so exciting, and watching them achieve it while supporting our mission and helping spread our message is just incredible. But we also do things like bingo with the seniors.
Yes.
And I love doing that, because we'll go to these senior centers and tell them we're playing bingo, and they think it's just regular bingo. Mm-hmm. And then they get a little confused when they realize we're doing this kind of hybrid trivia bingo where we're sharing donation and transplantation facts. Mm-hmm. And so they're a little hesitant, a little wary. And by round 2 or 3, they're begging for more rounds. And they're asking questions. And they're like, why is this word on here? What does this mean? Or what does this number pertain to? And they get so engaged and so involved. And interested by it. And so watching that is just as special.
And who did you sign it? You signed up someone who was...
He was 97 at the time, 98, late 80s or late 90s. And so a couple times now I've registered seniors at these bingo events because they've become so inspired. And speaking with the seniors is really cool because a lot of them, interestingly enough, are really into donating their bodies for science, which also brings up interesting discussions because we can share with them that you can do both.
Yeah.
And it also shows how open they are to science and helping people and like using their bodies / their passing for the greater good and trying to make a difference. Because I was shocked the first time it came up and continued to be in shock how often it came up. Because I can't say I've talked to a single person my age or even maybe like my parents' age who were as into considering this. And so then when you've got these 70, 80, 90-year-olds who have done the research and are familiar with it and know about it and have already signed up for it, it's really impressive to see.
Yeah. And they get, like you said, they get so into it and donating their bodies, it's incredible. You can do both and you can, sort of double fold what you're doing for, like you said, the greater good by, helping science, but also helping save a life or multiple lives through donation.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, the oldest organ donor, they just set a new record last year. He was 98. And so for those seniors who think their body's only good for donating to science or aren't interested in registering or because they think they're too old for it, it's really, really great to have these conversations with them and tell them that they're not necessarily too old and that if they're interested at all, they should sign up. And then the medical team at that time can decide.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I'm jumping back, but you did forget to mention that we now have a Sydney Marathon team that you will be running in. And I can't believe that that's not one of your top excited.
Okay, well, yes, but you also know how I feel about bingo. So, I mean, we got Sydney, we got bingo.
It's on a level.
But yes, we are very excited to be a new charity partner with Sydney, which is the newest Abbott World Marathon major race.
Yeah.
Previously, there were 6 of them. For anybody who's unfamiliar with how that works, there were previously 6 world major marathons. And if you did all of them, you got a 6-star medal. It's in the marathon world, it's a very coveted thing. They're all lottery races.
Jesse's world.
They're difficult to get into. For example, London is one of them. And last year, 840,000 people applied for 40,000 lottery spots. So when Sydney was announced as one of the newest ones, we were very excited that we were already in talks with them about being a potential charity partner. So we have the 5 spots. I say we because I signed up for one of those charity spots so that I can raise funds and awareness and also work on achieving all those marathons because that is something I'm trying to do personally.
Where are you at now? How many down are you?
So I did, my first one was with CKF. Yeah. So going back to how I got involved, I had actually signed up with the foundation to run New York as part of their team in 2022. I signed up maybe May.
You were like the first person I signed up.
I mean, I was bugging Anna the day after the previous New York in 2021. But I got signed up with them and then got the job. So I went to New York both as a participant and a new employee. So it was cool to see it from both sides. And so New York was my first world major. Then I got into the lottery for Berlin last year and went with a couple of friends to Berlin. And Berlin is one that our foundation gets through the organization Real Buzz. And right now we currently have
3 runners currently opening. So if somebody is interested, but it's only until the spots go.
So Berlin and Sydney, we will not be traveling with in a professional capacity the way we do for our charity races in the States. Like I said, for Sydney, I'll be going as a racer and fundraiser. But in the future, we'll have the teams and we'll support them and send them off and watch them succeed. And the cool thing with these international races is even though we operate nationally, they're doing a lot of their fundraising and awareness raising within the States as they reach out to their friends and family.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I mean, now we can offer, 3 of the 7 world marathons. We're hoping to add a 4th to that in the next year. But yeah, I mean, you can race 3 of those with us if you would like. And if running is your passion and so is organ donation, reach out. We have some great teams. And yeah, it's a great opportunity. It's one of our favorites of the year, is heading to New York and being able to stand out there all day and yell and scream every time one of our runners passes. You can ask anyone who's run with us previously. You will notice us on the course, even if there are, a few million people standing there cheering you on. You notice us. We get very loud for every single
pom-poms and
tutus if you're Jesse.
I mean, I'm trying to get Anna to wear a tutu with me one day.
I will do just about anything else. Tutus is not my vibe, I'm afraid. But yeah, I mean, we have some really great ones. I mean, CKF Awards is open right now. So we recognize 3 individuals each year who have done incredible things for the transplant and donation communities. Nominations stay open until April 1st. We then announce them April 30th, and they will join us for Wine and Dine in August, on August 22nd, I think. So please make sure you check that out. I'm going to plug, what else do we have coming up? Our Sip and Save campaign is currently running and doing incredible. I think we're at 38 events as to last year's 23.
Do you want to explain what Sip and Save is?
I shall do. So National Donor Day, for anyone that is not familiar, was founded back by Saturn, the car company, who one of the founders was actually on the board of the Chris Klug Foundation. And it is a day to recognize everybody who has made the decision to become an organ donor, but also promote and encourage others to make that same decision. And so last year we started a Sip and Save campaign, and the goal is to sip your coffee and save lives. And we do that by partnering with different coffee shops around the country. I'm getting very world orientated today. So around the country, we currently have, I think, 14 states participating. And we work with those local shops by sending them sleeves that they put onto their coffee for that day. And they have a QR code on so people can register. We give them informational pamphlets and educational posters to hand out to people. And the goal is just to meet people where they're at and encourage them to register, or at least, start that conversation or learn more about what it means to become an organ donor. Yeah. So that's kind of our Sip and Save campaign.
Yeah, it's one of those examples of how we're fortunate that we can get creative with how we try to reach people. You might not automatically go, organ donation, oh, that definitely belongs in a coffee shop, but why not? You're there anyway. Now you get a bright, colorful coffee sleeve, and if you want to learn some more about organ, eye, and tissue donation, it'll be real easy to scan that QR code and learn more. For people that aren't registered, it's an opportunity for them to see how easy it is to do it outside the DMV, because I think a lot of people assume you can only do it at the DMV versus it's very easy to just go online and do it.
Yeah. When you really want to do it at both, because we learned last year, which we did not know, is that, quite often the state registry and the national registry are 2 very different things. While they do come under one umbrella, there's a chance that if you, were to say pass away in a different state to the one that you registered in, they might not be able to find that track record of you being a registered organ donor. So it's super important to register, both through the DMV when you can and through the national registry, which you can do through Donate Life America. We have a platform that feeds right into the national one, and so do many others. But yeah, we did not know that either. So a great way to, maybe people have already signed up at the DMV, but this is a great way to get a national registration from them as well. Yeah. So we have some incredible things coming up over the next year. That I'll sort of talk more to in each episode that we do, what's coming up next, but these are just some of our highlights that we look forward to each year. So last thing before I let you get back to your day, where do you see the Unspoken podcast going, and what for you is what you want to see come out of it, I guess?
Well, I'm very excited about the podcast element of it. I've been very proud and impressed of the work you've done with the webinar series. I came on to the foundation shortly after it had started. It was a transition from the patient ambassador tours the foundation used to do in hospitals. COVID shut that down, logically. And the foundation pivoted to these really incredible webinar series talking about, picking topics that weren't, as readily discussed in the community, or maybe that people didn't even know they had those questions, or there wasn't enough time in, doctor appointments to ask these questions, or, people first entering into the donation and transplant community. You don't know what you don't know. And so it was very exciting to see these topics covered, and they were incredible webinars. The only trouble with a webinar is you have to sit down and watch it on your computer. And with so much screen time in the world already, I mean, we're all already on our computers and phones so much. I think that hampered a little bit people's ability to engage with the series because you have to carve out that time for it. Whereas with a podcast, you can listen on the way to work, you can listen on the bus, while you're out for a walk. And so just that little tweak to make it that much more accessible. I'm excited for that in general. And then it's exciting to come on the heels of some really incredible podcasts that are out there that are covering other topics. And so to be one more voice in that arena to bring these topics that these other podcasts maybe don't have the time for or a little outside of their realm. Our friend Fallon Kiefer has a really incredible podcast, Unpacking the Gift, that she did with a fellow recipient. And then Lori Lee and Donor Diaries. Both of these podcasts are ones that I really enjoy listening to. And so I look forward to feeling the same way about listening to our own podcast. Yeah. I listen to them on the way to work or when I'm out for a run or things like that. And it's really fun to look forward to listening to these stories or these topics. And so just in a very broad sense, I'm just excited that we have a podcast in a new and slightly altered way of reaching people.
Yeah. It's going to be a really fun, way to chat with people and sort of, our webinars have been incredible, but we've always had 3 or 4 guests on. It's going to be really great to have, one-on-one conversations and be able to understand and give a platform to individuals on like a one-on-one basis and share that, what they do a little deeper and a little more intense, I guess the word is. Yeah. It's going to be really fun. So I hope everyone tunes into the next one. Thank you for joining us. Is there anything I do always like, and I'm keeping this from the webinar series, I always used to ask this as like an impromptu question. What is one piece of advice that you would like to leave with listeners regarding donation, transplant, pretty much anything in that realm?
Absolutely. I have a few things, so get ready.
Oh, gosh.
Buckle up. First of all, going back to blood donation, I'm just encouraging people to check it out. Don't rule yourself out. There's a lot of rules that have changed recently that have made it more accessible for people that might have been denied donating blood in the past. And if you maybe are concerned about being squeamish, still go in and ask the questions. Like, ask what the procedure is, get some more information. It might not be as bad as you think. And then you can't or don't want to donate, that doesn't stop you from helping spread the word. People need life-saving blood donations every 2 seconds in the United States, and only 3% of the population donates regularly. So that's very, very high need with a very small turnout. And especially this time of year in the winter months, anywhere where weather can impact these blood drives and the donation centers, the shortage is even greater because the weather, it messes things up. So this is definitely a time to look into it.
Well, and to add to Jesse's point before you dive into something else, you forget how many people that need blood donation. You think of it being a very specific thing, but you can get blood donate. You can need blood transfusions. Pretty much, anybody who goes into hospital could potentially need one. My dad just had a heart bypass, a quadruple heart bypass, and he's like, I didn't know I was going to need to be given blood the next day. Or if you, give birth, potentially you could need a blood transfusion. Transplant recipients need blood transfusions.
Cancer patients.
There's a lot. So don't be like, well, that doesn't affect me, is kind of what I'm getting at, I guess.
And I always like to encourage it, especially for people who maybe are on the fence for organ donation as well, because it's a really good intro into it, something you can still do while you're alive. And potentially with who you donate through, there are organizations that will text and email you when your donation is on the way to the hospital to save someone's life. And it's a really gratifying feeling knowing that you've done something that big.
Oh, yeah.
And so in addition to that, we have also been working with NMDP for bone marrow and blood stem cell donation to help cure blood cancers. I learned about this after I'd started with the foundation and was listening to a podcast.
Love that.
And they were interviewing someone. It might have been Donor Diaries. And they were talking about a bone marrow transplant. And so with the NMDP, you can only register until you're 40 and 364 days. So for anybody that age or younger, this is the time to sign up. You're then grandfathered in and kept on the list until 60. And the reason for the age thing is it's expensive to do the testing, and 90% of the people that they are able to match are in their 20s. So it's just, unfortunately, it is an age thing. It's a really easy online application, and then they will send you a swab kit. You swab the inside of your cheeks. It's nowhere near as invasive as COVID testing.
Yeah.
So super easy. You mail that away, and then they let you know when you're on the registry, and you could literally save someone's life through curing their blood cancer. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, and it's not as invasive as it used to be, right? So
yeah. So I think it's 80% of the time. It used to, they always used, you'd have to go under general anesthesia and they'd go through your hip for the actual bone marrow. Now, I believe it's 80% of the time. It's basically like a blood donation where you have IVs in your arms. Yeah. And it is a multi-hour process. So it's not like a 5-minute whole blood donation. So you are hooked up for a while. So again, for those squeamish, you might want to ask some questions. But yeah, for the majority of people, they are just taking those blood stem cells instead, having to put you under and go through your hip, which can also be painful coming back out of it. But for the most part, it's pretty easy these days.
Well, and NMDP also, they support you with like travel costs, and if you need someone to go look after your pet or anything like that.
Or your plants, they told us they will pay for a plant sitter for people, like how much they want to support you through the process. So they pay for you and a companion to go wherever it is you need to do to make the donation. And then they'll help with childcare and travel expenses. Anything back home.
So yeah, like Jesse said, check it out. But
and then I had one more thing. Oh, and then just because I don't think we've said this yet today when we're talking about donation, we've talked about those intergenerational conversations, but just to reiterate how important it is to have the conversation in general, particularly if you are registered, making sure your loved ones know your decision. Yeah. Because should something happen, you don't want people questioning in that moment what your decision is. No. Especially if you've already made it. Yeah. And so it's really important to have that conversation and then know the decision of your loved ones so that you can honor it if something happens.
Definitely. Well, awesome. Thanks for your time. Thank you to our listeners for joining the first episode of The Unspoken. We are thrilled to have you here and have a new platform to share our thoughts and programs and events and incredible stories and expertise of individuals. If you haven't checked us out, you would like to sign up to donate, sign up for anything we've discussed today, or learn more, check us out at thechrisklugfoundation.org. And as always, as we say here, live life, give life.